Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 122. We are givers. Recorded on Friday, November 27th, 2020 from Zenata Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
All right, well, we'll start with our events coming up. We have our December webinar extravaganza. So on Wednesday, December 1st, we're going to be doing integrating Shopify and Zoho. And then on December 8th, Google Ads and Zoho. And then on December 15th, Ring Central and Zoho. And then we're going to wrap it up at the end of the year on December 22nd with the CRM Zen Show, year in review, and the first annual Zenmies, which is going to be good. So all those links are in the newsletter. We've got also in there is a link to vote for the various categories we've set up in the Zenmies, favorite apps and favorite apps by category and all sorts of other things. So we'd love it if you'd participate in that. And then over at crmzen.com, we are still keeping all the events from the rest of the world of Zoho. So besides the ones we mentioned, on Monday this week, if you're listening to this, there's Zoho Creator and Middleware Enhancement. This is a Python and Java, how to basically in Zoho Creator. And then we've got Zoho CRM setup and customization and Zoho CRM for sales reps, which is a virtual classroom training. And then another one on using .NET instead of Python and Java in Creator as a middleware. So all kinds of good stuff coming up this week. So head over to the events tab on crmzen.com and you'll have the links to register for all of those, not only our events, but basically every event we can possibly find that has to do with Zoho. And with that, Tyler, let's get straight to the news.
Yes, our first story is regarding Zoho Meetings. This is kind of a minor little update here. We don't think this is really going to affect most people. But basically, previously with Zoho Meetings, you could actually go back and start up any Zoho meeting that you had ever created. Basically, historically, as well as anyone who had the link themselves could try to join it. So basically, they're just going to be updating this so that those meeting keys become invalidated after a certain period of time so that you're not able to just start up, a year-old meeting and jump right into it. So it's kind of in line with, most of the other meeting tools kind of all do this. Probably going to help Zoho as well, not having to have all of them marked as active kind of just forever, in the background. So kind of a common sense one. And I think one that, again, most people are not really going to be affected by at all.
No, I think that this is how every other basically online meeting software works. You really can't go back to that link. They just clear them out and they parse them. I mean, sometimes I've even noticed when we were using GoToMeeting, if you'd move that meeting ahead or you change it around and then you'd go to start that meeting, the link was dead. I mean, it seems like they were deprecating those links within like 24 hours immediately after, or even within a few hours, I think sometimes. And I think that makes a lot of sense for the most part. All right. And then we've got kind of a PSA here. We got an end of life announcement for the Zoho CRM plugin for Microsoft Outlook. Now, this is actually for the regular old desktop version of Outlook. They haven't really done much to that in a while. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not sure that there's a lot of great loss here. They do have a couple other things. They have the Office 365 integration, so just not the straight up Outlook plugin, which is pretty good. And then they have Zoho CRM for email, which is an Outlook add-on. And they actually put together a pretty nifty little graph that kind of breaks down what's happening, what's going away, and what you're going to miss. And honestly, Zoho really doesn't write a lot of these application-based plugins, because this was actually an app that you had to install in actually Microsoft Outlook running on your desktop. And I think with everything moving to the cloud, I'm not sure it fits. And I think the big thing you're losing for now is the ability to associate an email with a deal. That's kind of a work in progress on the Outlook plugin that they're going to do for 3 anyway. But I think for the most part, I think everybody will be fine.
Yeah, I think what we see most of the time is that the most important thing is syncing your contacts back and forth, which you'll still be able to do. You're going to be able to use the IMAP to associate emails with those existing contacts. And then again, kind of looking at the chart, there's a couple little things that might be end of life for a little while, but they're going to be replaced in the the existing plugins that are going to be continually updated.
Yeah, I think the oddest one, which I've never even seen, but the original plugin that's getting end of life, you could add cases from email. That's going to be the only thing that's not going to carry over eventually, it looks like, right? So
yeah, but I think for heavy users, you're probably not using CRM cases very much.
I
You're
don't
probably
think
using
so.
Zoho Desk or, a proper ticketing system. Most of the time, that's one of the things that we'll take a look at is really anyone that is using those cases. You can get all that same functionality and more just by using Zoho Desk. I would imagine that this is something where they're looking at their usage statistics and, just not seeing a lot of people using some of this functionality or using that plugin at all. And I will say it can be a little confusing for people, because there are currently, 3 or 4 different plugins or integrations you can do with Outlook. It's, I think, going to be a good thing to streamline it and consolidate the functionality into less plugins and integrations.
I agree. All right. So then moving along here, we've got Zoho Writer inside of Zoho Cliq. So this is, with Cliq becoming everything it is, this is just a new little enhancement that basically, if you drop a link to a writer document into Cliq, people have the ability just to work on it directly from there. They can launch it from there. They can click into it. They can preview it. They can edit the document properties. They can do a variety of things. You can create documents from inside Cliq now. This is just a trend we're seeing with Microsoft Teams and with Slack and, all of these kind of things where everybody's just generally collaborating, right in the middle of this. So it's looks like a nice little enhancement, nice little widget.
Yeah, kind of in line with, they rolled out the suite of widgets for Cliq maybe a couple months back. So we're seeing more and more of these kind of pop up. I do think they had a writer widget already, and it came in as a kind of a little tab in the Cliq. So I think they're kind of expanding some of the functionality and the ability to share and quickly use / commands to pull up these documents.
Yeah, kind of on this front, though, interesting news this morning. We're actually recording this on the Friday after Thanksgiving. Yes, because Tyler and I are givers. We care. So as I was watching CNBC this morning, the word on the street is Microsoft is in negotiations to buy Slack.
Really?
Yeah. And then there are some other people saying not so fast. Looks like Zoom is jumping into the picture to buy Slack. So I guess Slack is for sale. That'll be interesting, though, because that's really the that's kind of the 800-pound gorilla in this space for the longest time. And, Microsoft really has just been, chomping away at him with Teams. So I'm not sure how that's going to go, but
maybe a Skype situation here where it gets purchased and then end of life. Because I don't know too much that what really would differentiate Teams from Slack, right? If you're a Microsoft user, Teams has your chat, it has your video calls. It has all those same integration activities as Slack, where you can post messages to it automatically. So it'd be an interesting purchase. I think it would make more sense for Zoom, right? Because that would actually expand some of the functionality that they have. But I would worry that if Microsoft buys it, it would go the way of the Skype and kind of sit there and slowly fade away.
Well, and Ring Central, it's interesting. So Ring Central has their own Slack thing. I can't even remember what it was called. We used it for a while, but I can't remember what that was called. But that's pretty good. And then Ring Central's telephony is actually a white label of Zoom, right? For not their telephony, but their meeting software. Yeah. Yep. But they've got their own internal. Everybody wants to have these collaborative platforms. Anyway, interesting to see what happens there. So Cliq moves on, which is, I guess, good news. And it's kind of a slow week. We've only got 4 news stories for you. The last one here, at least on the non-mobile side, is Zoho Recruit now gets Workerly integration. And honestly, this just makes a lot of sense. So, if you right now, you would have Zoho Recruit, you hire a person, and then they automatically go to Zoho People and they get pushed over there. So now if you've got Zoho Recruit and you hire a temporary worker, well, they're going to go over to Workerly. So a perfectly sensical enhancement here, and it looks like it's rolled out. And they just keep plugging away on this entire HR suite.
Yeah, and Workerly is not one that we've really played around with too much. I think we'll need to do, a deep dive as it's getting some expansions to functionality here. But, this one definitely makes sense, just being able to seamlessly feed any of your accepted candidates over to the proper application, either being people, if they're full-time or a W-2, or over to Workerly for your 1099 employees.
Yeah. So good stuff. Zoho. I mean, it's all these little things just kind of keep happening bit by bit by bit, as they roll through, and these improvements are nice.
Well, the last big one will be payroll. When payroll is actually fully rolled out, not just for California, Texas, and India, that'll be kind of the big next step for them, I think, in enhancing the HR suite. Because currently that's one of the big prohibitors is that, if you can't run payroll directly out of your HR suite and there aren't really any available integrations, it can be a stuck point for people really adopting Zoho people.
It is. And it just, it's the big thing with QuickBooks for a lot of companies. They have QuickBooks. QuickBooks has payroll. You can run it completely out of there. They have, what's the time tracking thing inside QuickBooks? Timely or timesheets? I
forget the name. Yeah, timesheets.
Timesheets, right. Or sheets or something like that. But yeah, or T-sheets. T-sheets, that's what it is. And so that is kind of an all-in-one solution. And oftentimes we'll actually switch people to books, but they've got to keep that because they want to run payroll. We have to use ADP because we have more people than in California and Texas. And, then you have to do all of the journal entries because you've got to download the journal entry from ADP and you've got to associate it out for everybody. It will be a big one. I know that they're working on it. Hopefully it comes soon. And that brings us to some mobile news here. This is just kind of a left field thing, but I actually checked it out. This is really cool. So Zoho has launched Radar. It's a mobile application only for Zoho Desk. And if you're running a big help desk, then this is the tool for you. Kind of at a glance, what the heck is going on with your help desk? That's really all it is. You can quickly open this app, see what your traffic is, incoming and outgoing. Go ahead and look at all your agents, who's online, who's offline. Take a look at dive into an agent and see, what's overdue, what's open, what their SLAs are. By the way, kudos to Zoho for the screenshots. If you're watching us live here, I took these directly from the App Store on iTunes, and the agent here is just in case. So I thought that was cracked me up, but it's a nifty little tool, Tyler. Really, I think if you're running a large help desk, you can't hard to do it without this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of just that snapshot reporting that you want to see, right? So, of course, you can have Zoho Desk as its own mobile application on your phone, and you can dig in and pull the information from there. But this is really just designed to give you that top down, how many tickets are coming in, where are overdue tickets, how are people ranking in their, happiness ratings or kind of ticket feedback system. So there's a lot to it, but it's kind of a quick top down for, the admins or managers of the help desk to just kind of see, what's going on at a glance.
Yeah. You know what this is though? This is Motivator, right? I mean, this is those real-time statistics that you could have. And I don't think Motivator didn't plug into Desk, right? Just
CRM.
Right. But this is kind of that kind of a thing. It's these real-time stats as to what's going on. I don't know, maybe they're going to come up with something similar like this for CRM, but this is, anyway, a nice drill down, good little application. And that brings us to our implementation of the week. What do you got?
Yes, this week we did an integration, kind of a 3-part integration from the CRM to Zoho Sign, and then over to QuickBooks Online to basically send an invoice for deposit payment. This is powered via Zoho Flow, as well as the standard CRM to Sign integration that you can just get from the marketplace. So basically the way that it works is that, you're working in your deal and you're filling in your payment amount, your deposit amount, payment terms, all that type of information. And, once that's done, you're ready to send it out for contract. You just do so using the Zoho Sign integration. And then what happens is that once that signed document is completed, we actually trigger a Zoho Flow integration. And what it does is fetch the deal based on the name of the Zoho signed document. So for this client, they basically name the deals the same way that they name their contracts. So it's kind of quick and easy to just fetch against an existing deal. From there, we basically pull out the contact information as well as the deposit amount from the deal. And then we bring that over to QuickBooks and find the correct customer based on the email address. And then we go ahead and create that invoice for the deposit amount and send it off to that customer. So basically just automates that step of sales having to, let the accounting team know, hey, this person's ready for their deposit invoice, because we know that once they sign that contract, they are ready for that invoice to come through. And this is kind of a good use case for the QuickBooks integration using Zoho Flow, because one of the limitations is that we can really only pass one line item. We're a little bit limited in what we can do there, but for this use case, given that it is just a deposit amount, and so the line item really just is basically a project deposit, you're able to automate this process and invoice on the fly without having to, manually create one and send it out.
This is nice. This is the first time we've ever done something like this with QuickBooks, isn't it?
We did a different integration with QuickBooks a little while back, not using Zoho Sign, but just directly from the CRM. Again, just always a little limited in the fact that we can only add one line item. QuickBooks is a little bit of a bear to integrate with, but this is one of the ways that we can kind of streamline the process.
And we have to use Flow for this implementation, but if you're actually in Zoho Books, we're just going to do straight API calls. Is that right?
Yep, just straight up through Deluge.
A little cleaner that way. But it's nice. I mean, we'd have a lot of people that are staying in QuickBooks, and as it gets better, this is the kind of thing.
Yeah, the big thing with QuickBooks for this case is just, accountants can be sticky, and actually getting people to move over and, run all of your accounting through Zoho Books can be kind of tough. And then, a big piece here is QuickBooks can create better looking estimates than Zoho Books. So, actually being able to group things like, here are all the products for this part of the project. Here's your subtotal for this part. And then, in section 2 of your estimate, here's all the products and a subtotal there. So the client's kind of not able to fully move over to Zoho Books due to a couple little things like that. So we're able to, bridge the gap here, at least for this piece of the process.
Nice. All right, let's move on to this week's read. Go into HubSpot. We have not looked at the HubSpot blog in a very, very long time. Yes, they're a competitor to Zoho if you listen to the show, but and no, we don't do anything with HubSpot, but we do like their blog because they really write some good stuff. So this is Katrina Kirsch, and she wrote this nice article on why blogs fail and to make sure that yours doesn't. And it's a pretty... I tell you, this thing digs in. I mean, I pulled out a highlight on the screen here. There's 1.7 billion websites. 600 million of them are blogs. So basically a third have blogs. The number of bloggers is in the United States is set to reach 31.7 million this year. And the average person spends 15 seconds. Half the readers spend only 15 seconds on a site. Anyway, just fascinating stuff, but it's a pretty good breakdown of what you need to do to build a blog, make sure it doesn't fail, why they fail. And I think I put this in here, Tyler, because we believe in content. We believe in creating good content, getting that content out there. And one of our big content plays is SEO and SEO through blogging. And we spent a lot of time with writers and working with them to kind of drive that content. And I can tell you, absolutely, it works. If you spend the time and you're consistent enough, which I think is at least one just good blog a week, you will move through those Google pages organically, and you can rise up to the top and get on page 1 and get your message out there. But you have to have a strategy, and this article kind of lays out how to do that.
Yeah, I think one of the big things too is just, making sure that the blog is, useful information, right? So that people are actually willing to read it. right? I mean, that whole 15-second rule, you have to actually grab people with, something useful. I think making sure that it's not overly long as well. A lot of people will think that longer means better for SEO, but that's really not always the case. Google is a lot smarter than we would think. And it catches things like that if there's a lot of fluff and filler inside of a blog. So it's important to be consistent, provide useful content and make sure that it's on message for the types of people that you're looking to attract.
Yeah, I mean, this article is not particularly long. It's got those 4 main points. I will tell you, though, it is just full of link outs, man. I mean, there's just a lot. You could spend a long time going through these links, kind of digging in, going through the SEO, because this kind of just highlights what you really need to do. But I think you covered it there. It's just be consistent, have compelling content, people will come. I know that seems simple, but that's just such a big part in all of this. All righty. And then over here on Zenata.com, we've actually got a lot this week. We have a nice blog on Zoho Connect, kind of takes it all through together, bringing your distributed workforce together. We have done a webinar in Connect. And so if you want to know all about Connect, go check out our webinar. You can find it on Zenata.com or go to our YouTube channel under webinars. You can find it there. More and more we're using it. We use it for our manuals. I think Connect and Cliq are really, as they've made all of these nifty, nice improvements to them during this time of COVID, they've just become extremely useful tools. So there's a nice blog on what to do there. And then we've got a new case study. We're starting to do case studies on some of our customers. This one is on a company called Bright and Beautiful. And so you can read about that. They actually are a salon that does teeth whitening and fat freezing and those kind of things. And we built an entire system to manage all of that and to auto-generate the invoices. And it's pretty nice and pretty clean. So nice little write-up there. And then, Tyler, of course, we did our webinar this week on Sales IQ, which was, I think was pretty tight. We hit it hard. And so on that, we covered a whole bunch of topics, from overview to settings to setup to CRM integration, lead scoring, chat, all the automations. You can check that out over on YouTube as well. And then we keep digging hard for those resources. And so Wayne found a bunch more resources, 2 more resources for us this week. So signing up using an auto-based responder. So this is basically inside Zoho campaigns. And you can, it's just a quick little 5-6 page read on how to get that set up. And then this one's a complete guide to e-invoicing in India. But if you actually go through and read it, it's just a complete guide to e-invoicing anywhere. So after looking at it, we decided to put it in. And this is a 19-page guide on how to do that as well. And I know a lot of this stuff is online, but man, I really think there's something to be said for having all of these, these nice PDFs up there that you can kind of reference.
And with that, let's go ahead and move on to our application or plugin of the week. This week, we're going to be talking about Ghostery, which is a browser extension that does everything from ad blocks to VPN, to speeding up the page loading speeds across a variety of different sites.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. This was actually given to us by someone in our organization. They said they love this. I've been using ad block forever, and I checked it out. And this kind of goes above and beyond all of that. So it's stopping trackers, and it does speed up websites. It's interesting. I did a little test side by side here where I had CNN runs on average 30 plus ads per page. And so sometimes ad blockers can really, they're blocking the ads, but it's kind of slowing down the load. I don't know what Ghostery is doing, but I ran just a kind of a side-by-side comparison, clear the cache, run it. Man, it's fast. It's really, really fast. And it does it. And it actually blocked more ads. Ad blocker blocked like 27, it said on the page, and Ghostery was saying it blocked like 38. So I don't, anyway, good stuff. Most of the others though, if you look at ad blocker, it's straight up kind of a make a donation, $5-10. This is a real business model with Ghostery. They've got, monthly plans start it free, which gives you basic protection, but then, $5 a month, giving you a little more stuff. You get more device protection. You get a VPN for $11 a month. And if you pay annually, it goes down considerably. They're giving you a nice discount there, about 20 to 25%, depending on what plan you've got. But I don't know. Good little product. Do you use an ad blocker?
Yeah, I use uBlock Origin most of the time. I found it's a little bit easier on the compute. I found the same thing that you found, where AdBlock is blocking things, but it's still slow. uBlock Origin seems to block really effectively, and you can pull up additional settings if you want to nerd out. And if you do find any ads are slipping through, oftentimes if you do a little bit of Googling, you can actually find the domain that those ads come from and add it as another filter list. So it's pretty powerful that way. I think one of the cool things that Ghostery does as well, though, is that you can roll your ad blocking in with a VPN service, which basically masks your internet traffic. VPNs do a variety of things as well outside of just privacy. For example, lots of different content on Netflix is locked to specific regions. So a big example is like in the US, Friends is not on Netflix, but in Europe it is. So if you're using a VPN, you can log into Netflix effectively from any place that you want and get any content from those specific locations. So there's kind of some cool things around VPNs outside of just a privacy play, and kind of cool to see them roll those two services together into one little plugin.
Yeah, it's nice. It's funny, the same thing with ad block. You can, if there's an ad that appears on the page, you can just basically go into ad block and say, I found an ad right there on the extension. You just click on the ad and it identifies it and gets rid of it. I haven't played around with this one in depth enough, but there's so many of these. This company seems to have it together, though. It's interesting. I hadn't heard of them until this was brought to our attention.
No,
but
never heard of it.
Yeah, pretty good stuff. They got a whole series of products over here. Ghostery Midnight, all kinds of, I'll tell you what, we got to be Zenottery. We've missing out on the RY, dude, or the LY.
Zenly.
The CRM Zenly. Oh man. Anyway, good stuff there. Check out that extension if you're looking for one. Honestly, it's looking great just in the little time I've played with it. And then that brings us to our tip and trick of the week. This is, I think I might be out. I might have to record some more. I did all these like 5 weeks ago. I just put a bunch of these out. So this comes up all the time, Tyler. People will create a custom module, and that custom module, normally you have to put a record name in, but oftentimes you don't want to have to put that actual record name in and type it every time. It's irrelevant. And, we've talked about this a lot. Like maybe you're just doing something like making a log of a meeting that you had with somebody, and you want to have a separate meeting log module because you've got all these various things you want to capture and you don't want to do it inside tasks and all of that. Well, you don't necessarily want to give that a name. You basically just want to have the date. It's automatically going to be linked to the person you met with. You want to put some notes in. So this basically is just kind of a quick little tip that we use all of the time to make sure that, you don't have to do that. And it's basically just by assigning a auto string, auto number to the record name, if you will.
Yeah, and this one comes into play a lot of the time. A big use case of this as well is sometimes you might want to log all of the different products and services that a customer has purchased, right? So in essence, you want to have a lookup to the account and a lookup to the product, and maybe you want to have a quantity field or a total dollar value field. You don't really want to give it a name, right? Because maybe I would have to name it product A, but I'm already choosing that product in the lookup field, so it's a little bit redundant sometimes to have to give things names. Where in here, you can basically just set a naming convention, and it'll do it for you. And one of the nice things about this too is that you can define the structure of it. So if you want to give it a prefix or a suffix, before or after the numbering, you can do that just directly through the interface there. So it's a nice little tool for times when you just don't really need to give something a specific name.
Yeah. Anyway, quick little tip. I think the video just runs for looks like 3.5 minutes, and looks like part of that time I kind of also spent on, hey, here's how you clean up a record ahead of time too. Somehow, whenever you want to create a custom module, Zoho really wants to put a whole lot of stuff in there,
They
emails
do.
and all kinds of other things that you really don't necessarily need. But anyway, take a look at this, and I think you will hopefully find it useful.
And that's a wrap for our show this week. As always, if you have any questions or comments, be sure to email them to us over at info@zenata.com, or just head over to the website and drop us a line.
And on the website is where you can find show notes and links to all of the stories we discussed today. And you can also find the links to follow us on your favorite social media network and subscribe to our podcast as well. We'll see you next Monday.